Good morning.
Morning. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Practice with Clara community gathering. You're joining us today for a discussion on tantric philosophy in keeping with our theme on beauty. Clara is going to open with a poem that she's chosen in alignment with our theme. Clara?
Good morning, everybody. So as we've been doing the last couple mornings, I'd love you, if you can, to close your eyes and receive this poem. And so find a seat or whatever position you're in. Close your eyes and just take a couple of deep breaths, allowing yourself to arrive. I have sent you my invitation, the note inscribed on the palm of my hand by the fire of living. Don't jump up and shout, "Yes, this is what I want, let's do it." Just stand up quietly and dance with me. Show me how you follow your deepest desires, spiraling down into the ache within the ache. And I will show you how I reach inward and open outward to feel the kiss of the mystery, sweet lips on my own every day. Don't tell me you want to hold the whole world in your heart. Show me how you turn away from making another wrong without abandoning yourself when you are hurt and afraid of being unloved. Tell me a story of who you are and see who I am in the stories that I live. And together we will remember that each of us always has a choice. Don't tell me how wonderful things will be someday. Show me you can risk being completely at peace, truly okay with the way things are right now in this moment, and again in the next, and in the next. I have heard enough warrior stories of heroic daring. Tell me how you crumble when you hit the wall, the place you cannot go beyond by the strength of your own will. What carries you to the other side of that wall, to the fragile beauty of your own humanness? Whenever you're ready, either open your eyes or feel free to just quite simply simmer in that for a minute. And that's the beginning of The Dance, which is a poem by Oriah, Mountain Dreamer. And I just feel like it's very telling, especially that last one, of quite simply feeling the fragile beauty of our own humanness. And so I thought we would start there this morning.
Yeah, one line that stuck out for me is the going inward, but opening outward. Mm-hmm. Just that complexity, the line of going inside, but also opening to what's happening around us. And that captures to me the fragility of human existence, is these two worlds that are kind of brushing up against each other.
The in and the out.
Yeah, totally. What's going on for me over here in my world, and how it aligns with the events in the world we're all in together. And then Clara, what's happening for you over in your world, right?
Mm-hmm,
all so unique and yet not at the heart of things.
Yeah. We were talking about this morning about weaving in one of our favorite philosophies, which I feel like this poem really touches upon, which is Tantra. And so in one of the largest difference between Tantra and other styles of Eastern philosophy is this idea of the experience, and how the only truth is your own experience. And it's not theoretical. There's a lot, like classic yoga philosophy is theoretical. There's a lot of theories of what we're kind of moving towards or how we connect to the big S self or consciousness. And in tantric philosophy, we're already connected to the divinity. We're already connected to our perfect, or our the essence of ourselves. We don't have to go anywhere, but instead we have to go inside and quite simply allow ourselves to unfold, to feel this vulnerability, this fragility, this connection to something greater.
And I remember, my memory's being jogged of one of the first intensives that I did with you. We read a tantric text. I don't remember what it was. And you described most philosophies are going outward. You're seeking, you're going through other sources to discover the divine, God, whatever it may be. So it's dualistic, it's a separation. Whereas Tantra is you're already perfect. The divine is within. It's a wholeness.
And it's also all around us. Like, that's the other part of this, is that it's not only just within us, but it's everything. And so one of the things that I love about Oriah Mountain Dreamer as a poet is the idea of connecting to our pain and our pleasure, because both of them are sacred. And the same idea of connecting to the outside world as well as connecting to our inside world, both are sacred. So we can, no matter where we go, the divine is there. No matter what we do, it can be done in a sacred way. And I think that really changes the intention behind, it can change the intention behind everything that you do.
It's interesting too that you chose this poem, because I didn't know until this morning. And I just finished reading her book, The Dance. And she's actually, yeah. And so she's taken, have you read it?
Yes.
Okay. So just insight for our listeners is she's taken each stanza and created kind of a dialogue, a chapter around each of the stanzas, unpacking her own experiences and how they relate to the poem that she's written. And Oriah sits with herself, she meditates, she goes into her own world. And this is where the poetry, I think, comes from, is when she's in reflection, in meditation, in her own quiet space, which is what we're all being forced to do right now. So again, balancing the external world that we all share, and then this internal world that maybe prior to what we've been experiencing the last week, many didn't take advantage of. I know I've meditated and spent more time alone with my thoughts in the last week than I think I have my entire life. Yeah.
And what's arisen out of that for you?
There are moments of extreme satisfaction and beauty as I'm watching myself, through writing. What I'm working on by myself, for myself, is wonderful, but also there's moments of fear and anxiety and disease where I kind of start spiraling, and then I'm like, okay, what am I gonna hold on to? And that's usually when I know I need to take a walk or call somebody or bridge the gap between what's going on here for me and how I can come out of that turmoil that is self-created, right? Yeah. What about you, Clara? How does that land for you, the balance of the internal and external worlds? What are you sitting with this morning?
I woke up this morning and had this moment of guilt about the fact that I'm my due date for my baby is in 2.5 or 3.5 weeks. And I had this moment where I wanted to sleep longer, but then I was like, I only have 3 more weeks really to do the things I want to do, because a being is about to come in and take over. And so I felt like I had to get up and, like, I was like, what do I want to do? You know, like, with my precious time, with this precious life that I have, specifically in this moment. And so I got up and unrolled my mat and put on, like, one of my favorite playlists and did some yoga and got really fun and creative. And because I can't can't move very much and I can't move very quickly right now. So I was creatively figuring out how to move through prostration namaskars, and I did, and I greeted the sun, and then I sat meditation for a bit, and it felt so good.
Mm.
And then made breakfast for me and my man, and talked to my dad for a bit, and then realized I was exhausted because I really need to sleep a lot right now. So I actually took a nap for a bit, which was wonderful.
You've had
And
a
now
full
here I
day.
am. Yeah, I was like,
Like,
yeah, it's not, what is it, 11 a.m.? Done.
yeah,
Okay. Ready for
you've
the
lived
rest
an
of it.
entire life.
Yeah. But I will say I really love having a lot of time to do what I want to do. And then that being said, you get kind of overwhelmed because you're like, well, I have all this time. Like, what do I want to start with? And so that was kind of like the moment that I had this morning. But then I had a little practice and ate a little food, and I'm feeling way better about all of it. So yeah, so um, you know, yeah, weaving through the what needs to be done, what do I want to do, and how do I feed myself in more ways than one. Yeah.
And I guess something I wanted to ask you, Clara, specifically about how you nourish yourself in your own practice and why you're drawn to tantric philosophy, because that is something that I feel is expressed in your classes, your offering, whether online or through the intensives you used to hold. It is something that you are particularly drawn to, that I feel. So maybe unpack why Tantra appeals to you.
Yeah. So coming back to this experiential philosophy. So depending upon who you talk to, it's said to be the oldest philosophy in India. Some people feel like it came a little bit later, so we'll just say it's an old one. And many of my root teachers, specifically Shiva Ray and a couple of my other teachers back in New York, were really big on Tantra. So I felt like I was already receiving the transmissions without necessarily having read about it. And the biggest draw for me is that I kind of said this earlier, that nothing is true unless it's experienced, and it has to be experienced by you. And so there comes a moment in time in everyone's practice where they say you have to put down the books, you have to stop listening to the teacher, and you have to go inside to connect to the greatest teacher, which is the divinity, the guru that lives inside of you. And so a lot of the practices that I think I was being given by my teachers were ones that were very encouraging to go inside, to close your eyes when you practice, to feel, right, your own undulations of your breath, of the movements. And through those undulations or through that connection of breath, right, everything else that can be of distraction begins to dissolve away. And at least my experience of it was a very expansive feeling inside. And that to me is the way that I would define divinity. Be interesting. I'd love to hear your definition, Steph, after. But for me, when I think of divinity or that connection, I think of actually getting like, whoa, so big, so expansive, where there's no longer just this who I think I am, right? It's like this. Yeah. And so through that expansiveness, then I also feel like there's room for everybody else. There's room for everything else. And so that's the other part of Tantra that I love, is that we're not trying to suppress or repress anything inside of us, that actually we're encouraging everything that wants to move through us. And we talked about this last week in terms of the Tandava, right? Everything that wants to come through us is welcome to the table, because it is a teacher, it is divine, and it is a way of connecting to Shakti, to our creative or our powerful force within us. And so if there's practices you're doing that don't give you that feeling, then it's not for me, is what I would say.
Yep.
And so I pass it back to you, Steph. How would you define divinity? Because I feel like it's a word we use all the time, so it's nice to hear.
I feel divinity for me resonates in a way that reveals truth and wholeness and a state of groundedness. And like when I feel most connected to that space, I kind of lose myself. I'm lost in the moment. An entire day will pass and I'm like, oh, it's, it's getting dark. I don't even recognize like what's going on around me. The world is spinning, but I'm kind of in a standstill, and I just feel really grounded, open, like you're saying, where it's all expanding and everyone is welcome to the table. And what I love about Tantra that a lot of other philosophies don't explore is the idea of the individual truth. And a lot of philosophies say, like, this is the way it is, this is the way it's meant to be in practice, and blah, 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 which is fine if you need a guidebook to set you on a path initially. I used to need rules. This is the guide. This is what you're following. And then, as your own rhythm is created and you start to connect to the things that light you up and bring you joy and bring you that, for me, groundedness, the rules fall away and you create your own dance, to kind of quote Oriah. You're moving in tune with your own rhythm and things begin to unfold around you. Something in that needs to be identified and countered is the fear. The fear of the things falling away. And I think in the poem, she mentioned something around hitting the wall and crumbling. And that's the Tandava, is being welcome for those moments of bliss and expansiveness, but also open to the moments where things do fall away in terms of other pieces of your life, relationships. And that's really hard to let go, to let that in, and to let things kind of shift and move and be present for whatever is left standing.
Yeah. And to be, to have the space, I was talking with a friend of mine, to have the space to be able to also mourn that letting go, or that surrender, or that, that change, that destruction. So.
What else do you do?
It's true. It's totally true. Yeah, exactly. I'd love to read a little bit more of it. Can I read a bit more of it? It's a very long poem, so I thought I would just give you kind of pieces of it, and then we could keep going. If you're joining us right now, I'm sharing a little bit of a poem from Oriah, Mountain Dreamer, called The Dance. And so if you can, close your eyes and receive this. And the reason why I invite you to close your eyes is to just allow the words to kind of wash over you without necessarily being distracted by what's happening around you. So, and after we've shown each other how we have set and kept the clear, healthy boundaries that help us live side by side with each other, let us risk remembering that we never stop silently loving those we once loved out loud. And after we've shown each other how we've set and kept the clear, healthy boundaries that help us live side by side with each other, let us risk remembering that we never stop silently loving those that we once loved out loud. Take me to the places on the earth that teach you how to dance, the places where you can risk letting the world break your heart. And I will take you to the places where the earth beneath my feet and the stars overhead make my heart whole again and again. Show me how you take care of business without letting business determine who you are. When the children are fed, but still the voices within and around us shout that the soul's desires have too high of a price, let us remind each other that it is never about money. Show me how you offer to your people and the world the stories and the songs you want your children's children to remember. And I will show you how I struggle not to change the world, but to simply love it. I'm just going to read that one last line again. Show me how you offer to your world, show me how you offer to your people and the world the stories and the songs you want our children's children to remember. And I will show you how I struggle not to change the world, but to love it. Yeah. That's a good one. A line right now I feel like I'm really resonating with. Not to change the world, but to love it for exactly as it is. I feel like there's so many intense emotions and wishes for the way that we are being together in this time of intensity. I was like I was chatting with a friend yesterday. I was trying to find like, how do I want to describe this time that we're in right now? I've been calling it a challenging time, but how do we want to describe it? How are you describing it, Steph?
Intense, difficult, uncertain actually is the word I've been using.
Uncertain's a good one.
I'm saying words to you, but those aren't how I've been describing it. Uncertain. And I think for me, the last like 2 days, just in all the different conversations I've been having, depending on the lens, the perspective of the person I'm talking to, kind of shifts the dialogue, of course. But if you're more business minded, you have a different perspective. If you're more scientific, you have a different way of reading this. If you're more spiritual, you have a different way of describing this. And the line in Oriah's poem around, let's not worry about money. Totally. I think I said this to you this morning, Trump is calling for people to go back to work in the States because the economy is slowing down, business is at stake, right? And that's one perspective, but we're having all of these competing dialogues with what to do, what is the best way to act, how do we keep people safe, but also, all the other little pieces that are part of this. Yeah, it's uncertain.
And someone just wrote, which I totally agree with, is it's a time of surrender.
Yeah. Like, but for us, right? Like, we're choosing that word to give to the situation. I've encountered many who are not seeing this as surrender. They see this as like time to fight. Like, let's, power up and beat this. So it just kind of depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah, I agree. I want to end with the last part of the poem. Can we do that? Yeah, okay. It's a long one, so that's why I was like just a little bit at a time.
Do we want to put it out?
Yes.
So everyone, tomorrow is a Ask Clara Anything. If you would like to drop questions in the Facebook group for Clara, anything goes. We're going to open up for the community questions tomorrow at 11 a.m. So you can join us. Last day this week, topic is beauty. If you want to curate a question around beauty or anything else that comes to mind for Clara.
Yeah, especially anything that we've spoken about this week, and somebody had already asked, and we'll absolutely be doing that. So every time we read anything or share anything here on the live stream, we put it on the Practice with Clara community Facebook group. So all of that information is always there. You can check it out. And then again, just leave us any questions you want us to go through. If not, we can continue doing our thing. Steph and I feel like talk forever. So, but we're also happy. We'd love to have you join the conversation. And thank you everybody who's been writing comments down, and some of the comments in terms of what divinity is were really, really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that as we go. And so I'm just going to end with this last little piece. So close your eyes if you can, and receive the last of the dance. Sit beside me in long moments of shared solitude, knowing both our absolute aloneness and our undeniable belonging. Dance with me in the silence and in the sound of small daily words, holding neither against me at the end of the day. And when the sound of all the declarations of our sincerest intentions has died away on the wind, dance with me in the infinite pause before the next great inhale. the next great inhale of breath that is breathing us all into being, not filling the emptiness from outside or from within. Don't just say yes. Instead, take my hand and dance with me. Beautiful friends, thank you so much for joining us. May you continue to dance through your day. May you continue to connect to the divinity, whatever that means for you, however that works for you, either out in the world or going inside. And may remember that what we are experiencing is true in this moment for us. And so breathe into it and be with it. And know that even when we are in solitude, I love that line, even when we're in solitude or when we're together, right? We can continue to breathe together. So we'll see you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you. Thank you, Clara. Bye, guys.
Peace and bless.